Good morning, everybody. I hope everybody had a great weekend and we're having a great start to the week. I thought today was a good introduction to a normal game week Tuesday. We were able to break up, uh, get some pretty solid work with a focus on Georgia Tech, but also just to continue to focus on our fundamental development and growth. I thought the guys, we're still a work in progress of understanding the expectation for how hard you have to push. And at the end of the day, we have limited opportunities in our preparation, and I hope it's challenging. I hope it's difficult. We've got to be able to have a mindset of response when it gets to that point. And we had a couple guys that weren't able to finish practice today, and whenever that occurs, it puts a bigger workload on others. But that's where we get a chance to show our response. And it's a continued step daily for where we want to get to and where we want to be. But I'm not going to deviate from our expectation, from our standard, and it's something we're going to continue to work through. I'd also like to announce that we're going to name James Blackman our starting quarterback for this season going into the beginning of the year. I think James has had an extraordinary camp. Really pleased with the growth and development that I've seen from him in all aspects on the field. Doing a really good job of taking care of the football. Obviously managing the offense. His talent. I believe he's got all the skills and traits of what's necessary to be a very successful quarterback. Off the field, the amount of time that he puts into studying, obviously learning another system that he's had to work through in his career. But I think he's truly trying to be that example, not only for himself, being the best version of what he expects, but then also be a great example for this football team in all regards. And I'm excited about what the season is going to hold. I'm excited about the continued competition that we'll have at that position with Jordan, Tate, obviously Chuba when he returns. I mean, these guys are very talented. Would not be shocked to see if other guys at that position get opportunities to be able to help impact this football team and to help put us in a great situation to be successful. But James, I think, has done an extraordinary job. Really proud of the young man and all the things that he's done to be able to earn the shot.
First question will be Irish Hotel.
Hey, Coach. On that topic with James, the time during the quarantine when the team was away, were you able to talk to how much were you able to talk to him during that time and just kind of gauge his growth and understanding of the offense, even though you guys weren't meeting personally?
Well, I thought he did a great job with the virtual meetings, and that was something that was big. It's a challenge to meet virtually, especially with all the things that are going on during that time. But he and along with his teammates made a great commitment to continue to grow mentally. And now, what you learn, in a virtual meeting, just like what you learn in a position meeting here in person, you've got to be able to apply on the field. You need the in-person reps. But I think I attributed it. I don't know how much it helped us on day one or what it looked like, but I think we were able to grow and make corrections much quicker because the overall understanding that he had and that a lot of the guys on the team also had through those virtual meetings. So it wasn't foreign to them. But I thought he did an exceptional job, and he definitely put in a lot of work on his own preparing himself for this opportunity.
Coach, with like 10 days away from kick, does 10 days feel like an eternity when it comes to a guy like Hamza being able to go out there, or does 10 days feel like not enough to get him to where he needs to be?
We're gonna take every moment that we have for this football team, and obviously it's individual guys that are continuing to rehab and going through the process, and so we need every practice, we need every rep that we can get. This is going to be a continued growth all the way up until kickoff, because this will be the first time we go into a game situation together, And so we've tried to simulate that in a lot of different ways. We're going to continue to do that throughout this week. We'll have a mock game come Saturday where we're going to go through exactly how we warm up, exactly what time we come out, who comes out with who, what are we wearing, the order of which we take the field. Everything's going to be organized. Everything's going to have a purpose and what we're trying to accomplish. And and that's something that's important to me. I do believe that that structure and organization. I mean, it's been proven throughout the years of how we've operated within our program to prepare us up until kickoff, the very second leading up to that moment, so that we can go out there and play to the best of our ability. So we're going to take every second that we can get.
Hey, Coach, have you guys identified who's going to be the starters on the offensive line or close to getting there?
We're continuing to work the different combinations. I like a lot of what I've seen. I think there's, at that position, you always have to be ready to adapt and adjust. And right now, I probably feel pretty confident about 7, 8 guys that I think will be prepared and ready to jump in the game one. But it might mean a couple different positions if that's forced to happen. So we're still looking for that best combination. The ones can be able to play as consistent together as possible. And but I like the growth that I'm seeing.
Hey, Mike, I know you only got a couple of practices in the spring with James, but what are the biggest things you learned from him that you did in the preseason camp that you didn't know about him when you had him in the spring?
That's I think it's just continued development. Really the spring practice for us, I mean, it was 3 days. Everybody just trying to figure out where to go in practice. I mean, we're learning new language, it was a pretty good shock for our guys, just the tempo of how we practice, what we do. There were some things that were totally new in all regards. But I think you see the confidence of that he was able to gain even through the growth of the 3 practices. Once he understood how we were going to work, what the expectation was, then it was working to apply the fundamentals to put himself in the best position to achieve success on each play. He's had good plays, he's had bad plays, just like every other player, through this fall camp. But his response is something I've been really pleased with. His understanding of what he sees on the field has been impressive to me, which ties into what he's taken from the meeting room to his own study and the application there in practice and scrimmages. But I'm excited to see what he can do, and we're looking forward to seeing him. Here September 12th.
Hey, Mike, I was curious, what was James' response when you informed him that he'd be starting, and was it what you were looking for in terms of temperament and demeanor and handling that news?
Said, yes, sir. Thank you very much. And then he ran across the field and finished up the day. But James is, that's one of the big things that we've talked to him about. And I was fortunate. I was able to be here, through the bowl prep and through the experience. And so I've got a chance to really watch him before. We got to work day to day together. And, one of the big things that I've emphasized with James is just the response to every situation. Some things are not going to work out. Some things, there's going to be a bad play that's going to show up probably in every game. But his response is what's going to define it. And, that's one of the things I've been most pleased with. James, he's an emotional player. And I'm an emotional coach. And those are the things that, we're out there on the field. It's, you want emotion. You want guys that are passionate about playing and coaching this game. But, when it comes to game day, it all has to be controlled. And we always have to be in control of our response. And it's part of the reason we practice with the intensity which we do, or the reason why we try to, work as hard as we do. Because, when your mind starts to get tired, you slip back into old habits or old things that kind of feel natural to you. But we're working on that continued development, in times of distress. And that's where I think James has really grown a lot. And, we've not played a game together. And that's something that is upcoming. And but he's done everything that I was hopeful to see here up until this point.
That could be David Hill from ESPN.
Hey, Mike, I'm just curious, how did you view the overall competition at quarterback throughout this point, and how many guys would you have felt comfortable putting out onto the field in a game day situation as of now?
Well, I mean, I think every guy, you know, there's been some things that have limited some of them, you know, with Chava and then Jordan missing some time. I think every guy has shown the capabilities of being able to lead this team, and they've showed a very distinct skill set. They're great young men. They really pour in a lot of time in the media room, you know, trying to build themselves mentally. But I'm excited about all four of them. I think that group is a very talented group. You know, I think that, like I said, I mean, there could be some opportunities for those guys to be able to help impact this football team in a lot of ways. So I'm excited to see how that continues to develop.
Hey, so it sounds like the ACC is going to allow teams to pipe in crowd noise at the games this season. Have you guys talked about that? Did you watch any of the Central Arkansas game, and did you get a feel for what that experience was like with a limited crowd?
You know, I pipe in crowd noise every day, so I try to do it to you know, create you know, adversity, and whenever we're in situational work and practice, I want guys to be uncomfortable. So we practice with that. So it shouldn't be a huge factor for us with the amount of time that we work. I tell the guys all the time, you got to control things that you can control. We can't control the crowd. We can't control. I guess we technically can't control the crowd at home now. So, but you know, at the end of the day, there's you know, we just have to make sure we go out there and we can execute to the best of our ability. I did get a chance to watch a little bit of the game last Saturday with Central Arkansas. You know. Definitely glad to see them get 1-0 and have a good fourth quarter comeback. But you know, I think you get a sense of some of the challenges that are going to face everyone coming into the early part of this season, and you know, those are all things we're working to try to correct now. You know, and we're going to continue to do that up until the 12th.
Hey, Coach, you mentioned that you're emotional on the sideline. This will be the first time a lot of FSU fans have seen you, or will see you on the sidelines, most of them on television, unfortunately. How would you describe your demeanor and mentality on the field? And are you a coach that will at times make decisions based off the emotion and what you're feeling from your team?
I said I was an emotional coach. On the sideline, I try to be a controlled coach, and you know, when you get to game day, it really is about communication. It's about making sure that you know, if you could, as a coach, that you see that you're locked in on what you're looking for. You get a sense of the potential adjustments that need to be made, and then you can clearly communicate that to your players. Yeah, there's going to be ebb and flows in every game. I mean, that's part of it. That's what I love about the game. But you know, I'm not wouldn't say that I'm a coach that is you know, overly emotional, and you know, I try not to ever lose my control. Now, there's times that you'll see some real passion come out, you know, for certain things, and there's certain expectations of how I want to see things done. But you know, for our players, you know, they've got to be able to see that from me as an example. I'm not a guy that you know, I think that, you know, you've got to be in control. And if I let one play allow me to lose my control, or you know, takes me out of the mindset to be able to communicate clearly, then I'm doing a disservice to our players. And so you know, that's something that there'll probably be a few times that you see me get a little revved up, but it's all part of the game.
Coach, something we heard from you and from the players a lot is how James was just willing to lead and to talk with any player who had any questions about anything. How much did that play a factor in just his leadership abilities and evaluating him for the starting position?
Well, you know, the conversation is one thing. The example of the work is another. And I mean, I think you know, anybody can give a speech, anybody can be a nice guy, but you know, when you go out there and the work is proven over and over and over again that, you know, when you step on the field, you're doing everything in your power to be the hardest working guy. Then guys tend to listen a little bit more when you do talk. And so, and that's what I shared that with James earlier. You know, I just want him to continue to work every day to be the best version of him. You know, I think all of those quarterbacks, they all have great leadership qualities because they understand work. And you know, there's days that we still are pushing them If we feel that there's anything left in that tank when they're walking off the field, we haven't done our job. We're trying to max out every day, every rep, every opportunity that we get. And then, if their teammates see that, then when it is time to open their mouth and to help encourage that, there's a sense of respect for the job they've already done.
I guess sort of maybe back on the whole piping in the noise. I mean, just with the fact that there's going to be such a limited crowd attendance this season, does that make you any less hesitant to put young guys out there? Do you think that'll present an opportunity for young guys to make an impact when there won't be 70, 80,000 screaming fans in most venues?
I mean, that's something that I really haven't put a ton of thought into that, because playing the game is playing the game. I mean, whether it's a scrimmage that we have in an empty stadium, there's going to be butterflies. Competition, for a young guy, they don't have the experience yet, but there's only one way to get it, and that's to go through it. And so it's also one of those reasons that we practice at the way that we do, with the intensity that we have, to try to prepare them. That emotion that I have as a coach, I try to make them uncomfortable during practice. I try to push them in ways to see how that response is going to be, because on game day, you never know what's going to show up. I've been around players that have been booed on the field, really, really good players that have been booed on the field. And at the end of the day, I mean, that's they're going to have feelings about that, but they are in control of their response. And that's something that we all have to be aware of. And so whether you're a freshman or a senior, I mean, that's going to be a part of it. I feel very confident in the young guys that have put themselves in a position to be able to make an impact. I believe they're going to be ready. And, some of the things we'll see are going to be after the first game, after they get that opportunity.
We got time for two more. We'll go to Jerry Coach.
Hey, Coach.
Hey, Jerry.
We're 2 weeks out from the start of the season, and the first question every fan asks is, are we really going to play? What would you say to them?
I'll tell you that we're preparing every moment that we have that we are. And until somebody tells me otherwise, that's not really even coming into my mindset. Our guys have done a great job of making a personal sacrifice. Players, coaches, everybody involved. Our administration's done a great job in the protocols that are in place, and we're trying to abide by those to the best of our ability, because that's all that we can control. And obviously the work that's going into it, we've got to be prepared when it's time to put the ball down and play. We've got to be prepared for that moment. And that's all we're working towards.
Last question. I'll go back to David Helm. Yeah.
Mike, you touched on this a little bit, but I wonder if you could kind of describe what the level of resilience that James has shown throughout his career, what that meant in terms of, you trying to build a culture there and build a culture around a leader like him. The fact he's gone through 4 OCs in 4 years, 3 different head coaches and lots of stops and starts, and he still is going out there and working as hard as he can. How big of an impact does that have on the culture of a team in its totality?
I mean, I think it speaks to him. He wants to be successful. I mean, a lot of people can sit around and tell you how bad they've had it and how unfortunate it is. And, I've got empathy for what James has had to go through in his playing career. It's not, I mean, you don't ever want to see any player that's had to go through all the coaching changes and the different circumstances that have kind of shown up. And that really had no effect on the decision of our starting quarterback. He had to continue to come show up every day and build upon the player, the man, and every aspect of what he wants to be. And that's what's shown up. And so I'm really pleased that young man specifically has responded in a great way. He's had some highs and lows, but in our experience together, he's done everything that I've asked him to do to prepare himself and to put him in a position to be named our starting quarterback. And I'm excited to see him go out there and play on the 12th.
All right, thank you, Coach.
Thank you, guys.
We'll have Kenny Dillon.